Welcome to part 2 of buying a UTV. This is the Yamaha Rhino 660, and if you haven't seen part 1, I'll plug a link to it right up there. In this one, I'm going to cover all the modifications and additions I add to it. It's going to be kind of a scattered approach. There'll also be some clips of riding, any breakdowns that occur, and we're going to see if that $100 Chinese top-end kit I put on holds up at all. I'll be honest, it's been mostly neglection since I got her going. Lots of riding. It's been holding up so far. Only mod I did do is add a roof to it. I think instead of buying a roof or a hardtop, this is the best option. Get yourself a heavy-duty tarp, or an old one in this case. I got it, my neighbor was throwing it out. Zip tie it on there. Might have to make some adjustments to this one. I just kind of threw it on last night. And you see what I like most about this, you end up clipping trees on this. I don't know if you can see these scratches, but as you're riding, the rollover cage will hit trees. And if you put a hardtop on here, I can pretty much bet you're going to break that thing at some point or another. Just found the first problem we got to tackle. I've been riding it for hours, and listen to this. I turned it off, let it sit for 5 minutes, so obviously it's not charging. That's something you should always check on a new vehicle, see if it's charging. But thankfully, I actually did bring a jump pack with us. So yeah. There we go. Figure I'll just charge it up for now, since I think I'm gonna go riding again later, and then try to fix it tomorrow. Nothing like a raging fire out in the woods right after a snowstorm. Cheers. Now, some of the dedicated videos, the repairs I already did on this was we did the stator, the loose oil pump chain, the pull start mod, fixed the neutral light, added the digital gauge cluster, and I think that's it. After letting this thing sit for about a month or so, the battery went completely dead. I did go ahead and order one of these factory battery covers too, because this was missing. You can get these on eBay for about 20 bucks. And it was weird, there was actually like 700 of them sold, which almost, I mean, that's a lot of an item like that. So I don't know, maybe these never came with them, or everybody's losing them. But I did have to go over to AutoZone and pick up a new battery. It was 40 bucks. I got a deal on it. I think it was regularly like 55. And upon hooking it up, I decided to check for a parasitic draw, since, well, that other battery was stone cold dead, and I did try to recharge it, and it wasn't even taking a charge. The thing was just toasted. So if you set your ammeter down on milliamps, make sure you got the cords plugged in appropriately. I have the positive side connected, and if you take the negative side, and, well, it doesn't actually matter which way you hook it up, but go ahead and hook it up in between and watch our meter. We are at, hold on a second, boom, 0.14, so that's 140 milliamps, which is definitely too much. So for now, I'm gonna leave this disconnected, but I'm gonna have to figure that out. And a good way to start doing it is you can go ahead and any fuses you see or any of these relays, unplug one at a time and then recheck and see if it goes away. So we can see in this fuse box, we do have quite a few. I'm gonna get some alligator clamps here. I've got the multimeter hooked up in series again, but using the alligator clamps with wires. You need 2 wires to be able to do that. Put it on a smaller scale too, so we're reading 147 milliamps. Now what I'm going to do, get the camera over here, I'm going to pull one fuse out at a time, and we'll see if that number changes. All right, no change there. That was the headlight. No change there. Turn on, and keep going. Boom. That last one I pulled out, we're down to 14 milliamps, which is acceptable. So that is for the backup. I'm trying to get you a better picture of the fuse block diagram on here, but this GoPro is terrible at the close-up. So yeah, backup down there. I just did some research, and it turns out that is a plug for like LED reverse lights, and I'm guessing this would be it right here. So fortunately, I don't need that. I don't have any reverse lights, and I'm not even gonna mess with trying to find the fault in that circuit. So we'll just pop that out, and the parasitic draw is fixed for now. I always like to slop a bunch of Bel-Ray marine grease on the terminals. She looks nice and tight with her new cover on there. I also put marine grease on the winch block terminals. And we're going to be talking a lot about spare parts, but one very necessary one is a spare belt. This is made by Gates, and I just kind of threw it under the hood here where there's plenty of space. I plan on doing some different storage here, but you can jam all sorts of stuff under here, and I just used some 14 gauge Romex to tie it on here. But definitely want to keep a spare belt, because without one of those and you get stranded somewhere, I mean, of course you need some tools to swap it, but you get a flat spot on the belt, if you get stuck in mud or something, it's only a matter of time before that thing's going to shred apart, and you're not going anywhere. So I like to be able to save myself on a trail if I have to. Scratch that, we still got a problem with the 10 amp backup fuse out. My digital tash doesn't work. So if I put this back in now, it does work. So I'll have to look into what's going on here. I hooked this back up and I'm going to let it sit for a while. You can see it's at 155 milliamps now. Sometimes the computers need some time to go to sleep. I wouldn't think it'd be the case. It's usually more on newer cars, not on a UTV like this. But I also removed the relays, the blue relays here, because when I put the digital dash in, the instructions said to remove these. They didn't specify why. I left them in place because everything seemed to work fine, but I thought, who knows, maybe it's those causing the draw. But yeah, I'll come back to that in a little bit.
2 hours later, and it actually went up. It's now at 184 milliamps.
And I was just looking at a wiring diagram. The red with green tracer that goes to the gauge cluster is what comes from that fuse. So let me unplug this. And look at that, she went down to 50 milliamps now. Pull that fuse out one more time. Boom, it stays at 50. Very odd. All right, well, it seems my gauge cluster is causing a draw, which is crazy because this is brand spanking new. So that's going to call for some more research, because I'll have to go study that wiring diagram a little bit more. Instead of trying to figure out why the gauge cluster is causing a parasitic draw, I decided to do one better and install a battery disconnect. So now when you go, you just fire up like that. This switch was only 20 bucks on Amazon. Feels real high quality, heavy duty, and I kind of like the idea of having the disconnect in addition to your switch. Luckily, since I'm a wire hoarder, I had plenty of heavy gauge old winch cables and wires to be able to extend the battery cables over to that switch, and some heavy duty cable ends too. Real quick guys, I wanted to announce a giveaway in this video. So I'm going to be doing 20 of these Furious t-shirts. Or if you don't want a t-shirt, you can have a mug. I was doing the math on giveaway t-shirts. It's probably going to cost me like 500 bucks, maybe more. It means shipping to Australia is like $17 on these, and my cost is $16. So anyway, I'm like, all right, well, if I take a sponsor, then I can do that, and you know, no big deal, right? So to enter, super easy. All you got to do is drop a comment down below on this video. Say something about the video. It could be positive or negative, any statement you got, and then in the end of the comment, write NNKH, double NKH in capitals. And then 5 days later, I will pick 20 random winners, which I'll comment back to you, and then you have, I'm going to say, 48 hours to comment back to me, and we can arrange, and if not, it'll go on to the next guy. I know a t-shirt's not like a huge giveaway or anything, but maybe in the future, do some bigger stuff. So back to the video. Next item on the list, the exhaust rattle. So I originally had hoped it might have been just a spark arrestor rattling around in there, but it seems to not be. The whole darn thing is rusted out inside of there. So actually, when I was last up at Camerata's place, he gave me this one off of his because he had replaced his with an aftermarket to like 160 bucks on Amazon. I was going to get one, but I figure maybe I'll just weld his back together or weld this onto mine. Looks like just pop this aluminum cover off and then everything's real easy to get to. And try a turbo socket on these guys. Probably gotta heat them too. Darn. I broke it. One of them came. I'll have to drill out that bolt or make one of these plates out of some other stainless. As you can see how thin those M6x1 bolts got, and that one just snapped off. There's just no snaking this muffler out of here. I think I'm gonna have to remove the head pipe too. So you got those 4 nuts up on the head, 12mm. Drop that down, then there should be enough room to finagle her out of there. Should have done that in the beginning. Just a few pins and these quick struts to get that off. Even with the head pipe out, it's still a tight fit coming out of here. There we go. Let's see how she sounds. Reminds me of my old Z50 when I had no muffler. I rode it around like that. I just put a little piece of 3/4 inch pipe threaded into the head. Obnoxious. Guess I might as well order some brake pads while this is off. Those are getting ready to grind. And you know what? Seeing as how hard it is to get this muffler out, I've changed my mind. I think I'm gonna just order a new one. Because my fear is that his factory one is not far behind, blowing apart like this one is inside. And yeah, it's not worth it. The 2 caliper bolts are easy to get to, but it's tight getting that out. Might have to drop this cover down. Gives a lot more access. I got her. Just some wiggling around. Of course, if the exhaust wasn't out, you would definitely be doing this from the bottom. Before pushing this piston back in, I went ahead and extracted it by pushing the brake pedal all the way out to where, you know, no brake fluid came out though, and then just using some super fine emery cloth to polish up the piston, and then I'll push it back in. As it's good to not push all that crud back in there. I decided to take the caliper off anyway and get it all cleaned up. The way this parking brake mechanism works, it has a little plunger on the back, and so when you pull it, this thing comes out a little bit, pushes that plunger, and this is a turn-in piston, so you got to use a screwdriver or something like this. Works good to turn that clockwise, push the piston in. Got her all cleaned and lubed up, new pads. Out with the old, as Chris Fix would say. What, out with the old, in with the new, right? I always like to remove and reuse the factory shims if possible. All right, brake calipers all back on and bled. I did have to remove that plastic cover on the bottom to get that caliper back on. That's definitely the way to go from underneath. And then to adjust the parking brake, you pop your seats and cover off. You got a 10 and 12mm nut, and this is your adjustment, so that a parking brake works great on that. Pretty sweet, and the brake reservoir is up top, so I've got some fresh fluid in there, all bled out and good to ride. Got the new muffler in, looks pretty good, so I'm gonna get this thing bolted up and see how she sounds. Got that muffler in, not gonna lie, the fitment wasn't dead on perfect. You can see this bolt's like a little cocked right there, but it's all tight. I had to, you know, replace that bracket that had rusted out before and just make a new one there to hold them together. And that's what it looks like. You can see it's leaning a little bit that way, and it was kind of contacting the frame here, so I put a pry bar in here, bent it over, and it seems to be good now. So let me fire it up. Right up. Yeah, sounds pretty good. Nice and factory sounding. Let's rev it up a little bit. Good. Now that I'm listening to this, it sounds like I got some kind of clutch noise or engine noise. Sounds kind of idle, but then yeah, it sounds really bad. So I'm sure I'll be digging into that another time. I ended up heating the muffler pipe up cherry red and then bending it over to get that straight. So, you know, looks good now. But yeah, shouldn't have to do that. What are you gonna do? I also did remove the resonator on this and use the factory Yamaha bolts, and I coated them with, you know, copper anti-seize too, so that way this resonator baffle can come out in the future if need be. Oh, and the bolt that came with this exhaust clamp was like some cheap Chinese metal, and it just rounded right out when I went to tighten it, stripped those threads, so I replaced that with an M10 by 125 Japanese bolt that I had in my collection. Based on my experience, I think it might be worth spending the extra money on a factory OEM exhaust. I am keeping my old can and Andrew's can, so in case I want to weld those two together in the future or repair them, I will do that, because I think this is just more premium metal. Alrighty, we're almost a year later now, back in the winter time, and I'll be honest, I haven't ridden this thing barely at all. I think I only got like 3 hours on the new LCD screen. So anyway, we're gonna do a couple other mods and then hopefully get some more riding in. I'll show you, I did end up mounting this aux beam LED on the front. This is 21 inches wide, and I just used some hose clamps putting it on there. It actually nice and rigid and strong and super easy to replace if ever smash it up. Now I've decided that the tarp is no good, because if you go to tow this down the road, you got to take the tarp off. It'll blow away if not. And also this windshield, super floppy on the top. So I got some angle iron. We're gonna put that across here today, like so, to stiffen that. The reason I put the LED bar down here and not up here is because I'm thinking in the future I want to turn this into a folding windshield, so put a piano hinge on there. Anyway, and now for the roof. Last night I was out here cutting up an old bed liner that I got for free, and ended up with this. So I think this will work well for rolling over the top of the roof. Let's see how all that works out. Instead of welding this angle iron in, I decided I'm going to bolt it in, since that whole roll cage is all bolted together. So if in the future, you know, I need to replace something, I can. So I got these 4 nuts and 4 bolts that I've cut down. Kind of gonna be a sweet little system. So I've got these bolts mounted through the holes and with the nuts, and here is the plan. We're gonna put it on here and then weld the nuts on to the frame, like so. It's not the most innovative design, but it'll work good. It ain't pro status, but it'll hold, and I didn't burn any holes. And something I just learned hitting this with paint is, if you use paint that's like 30 degrees, and of course this is still hot from welding, not a good combo, because the paint goes on thick and then it immediately starts running. But that's okay. I'll just brush that up a little bit and good to go. I should have left these bolts threaded all the way down when I hit this, because a little bit of splatter got inside those threads. But that's okay. We can hit it with 12 by 175 tap, and we'll clean them up. No big deal. I got some, these tap holders here are great too. Very convenient. You just put these on a ratchet like that. You could use a thread chaser too, but I don't have the 12 by 175 for that. Put some Loctite on these too, since they're coarse threads, and this thing vibrates a lot. Nice fit on there. And now this is good and rigid on the top. I might secure the bottom of this too at some point. Alright, and here's how everything turned out. LED bar looks awesome on the front. And this roof, I just used these self-tapper screws, zipped it in. I put one in up here, securing the windshield too, but kind of don't like that. But it holds it on there nice and sturdy. And yeah, should be strong enough to withstand any blunt impacts in the future from tree branches or anything. And it's even strong enough to stand on it. Love it. All right, we just took this about 2 hours down the highway and 80 mile an hour half the time. Windshield didn't blow through and the roof didn't rip off. So that's good to see. And now we're gonna go do a little riding. Something's chopping down a tree there. I wonder if a beaver's doing that or something. I bet you a beaver is doing that. We just ran in. Look at this partial beaver dam. And we're about to go look at those trees. This is really neat.
Oh my gosh. I don't like this.
Look at that. You cross it? Ah, you got it. Alright, we got that bit.
Oh no. No. I'm getting out.
You're getting out?
I don't want it.
Babe, you walking across?
No.
This is just so neat to me. Look at all these flies too coming in. It's held on by a thread. It was about to come down anyway. It actually went up. How funny is that? I knew it was hooked up on there, but...
Dude, have you ever seen a beaver do so much damage?
No, I know they are very damaging creatures though. And now he's gonna chop each of these and drag these little pieces down.
How do they drag them?
I don't know.
Dude, that's so cool.
A lot of things because I can't see it. It's terrible.
Oh, is that for me?
That's for
I
you.
can't even see it. What a beautiful.
Did you say I don't get you enough
It's so
flowers?
That'll be your
Sweet.
wedding bouquet.
Oh, I hit it. Oh, now what though?
Just be careful, because that's the clawed axe, man. That's the axe my neighbor gave me.
What does that mean?
That means the handle's just about broken.
Oh, there we go.
That means Jen shouldn't be standing right there.
Not me. Yeah. There you go.
Oh!
Oh, that
hit
was
the
a
handle?
good one.
I mean, it worked. All right, you ladies maintain the fire. We're gonna go
We're going to the bar. We're not going to be here when you get back.
get some food for you. We went back across that creek and came over this side, and it came from over top that hill. It's so funny, these hills look tiny on the camera, but yeah, they just keep going. Yeah, figured there maybe be an overlook or something at the top of this, but just keeps going. Nice snow day today. there's just like so much powder flying in the back here because it's cold and it's light snow. And the powder is hitting the exhaust and it's just steaming us up in here. It's crazy.
See anything.
Alright, we got some shelter. You want some different gloves?
These gloves just sucked up the snow and they're just already wet.
Alright, off to the mountain. How are those heated gloves doing?
Much better.
Jen up to the romantic overlook. Figured we could do some sledding, but these hills are all like this deep snow drifts or no snow. It's a little windy up here. I went down this yesterday, babe. This is just well, actually, we're gonna get stuck here now. See, I went down this. You can see my tracks yesterday, but this is like 3 feet deep now. I don't think I'll be able to reverse out of this either. No. Oh man. I should have just went balls to the wall on it. We got stuck in a snowdrift. Look how deep this is. Look, babe. This is like 4 feet deep. Oh my gosh. That's okay. We'll have to dig it out. Don't come over here. Just flipping the belt. I'm gonna put a ball spot on the belt.
I would rather push you.
Okay. You okay?
Yeah.
We got it down a little bit, and then the belly got hung up again. Jen's digging us out. Bring it down. Got you. That was scary. Oh my God, you're flying.
Well, that one's.
They're spinning. The problem is there's snow underneath. I want to hope I can, and I'm hoping maybe we can get on the back of that bulldozer. There's no way. I got this, this, and this, but I'm looking over there. Let's hear how Jen feels about this. What do you think? How many times have I made you walk home with me? You mad, Jen? And we made it back home. What was that, maybe a mile or less?
I guess so.
How you feeling?
I feel okay now.
We need lots of rope. We'll bring with us. So I got these 2 ropes and almost back up to the big hill. But this tower here, we used to climb this all the time. Really neat. It's super sturdy, and there's actually a ladder that goes up the whole thing on the inside. There used to be vines growing all through it, and I cut those back years ago. So that way, you know, keep it accessible and usable, since they don't use it for lighting anymore. It's just a fun thing to mess around on. stopped snowing and the wind's calmed down too, so it's really nice. I mean, I love this kind of thing. Like, I definitely didn't get stuck in that on purpose. Jen was pretty upset with me, and it was blustery cold up there. But I love it. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. Can't get enough of the fun and adventure, you know. Plus, what a great way to get exercise. Use your brain a little bit, use your body. It's good. And there she is, waiting for me to come get her. God, I can't believe we couldn't get that out of there. A beautiful day. It's frozen solid. So any guesses if we're gonna reach with these two ropes from the Rhino to the bulldozer? This is the butterfly coil. It's a great way to store your ropes. Look it up. They'll never get tangled up. You could throw it out and they ain't never gonna get tangled. Heck, we might reach it with this one rope. Yeah, one rope with room to spare. You know, I'm almost curious if we would have reached it with these. It's got frozen solid. We're good to go now. Now we got a couple bowlines tied, so let's see how that works. You know what I'd like to add on this rope is like a quick release on this steel hook, because right now I don't need the steel hook. I could do a bowline on this and then not have the hazard of this thing flying back at me. But the truth is, this is not going to break. This is much stronger than this side, so as long as you're not standing down there, you'll be good, right? Wow, we maxed out the winch on there, nothing broke, and that was just enough pulling force to yank her on out, so that worked good. Look at this static rope retracting on itself too. Look at that. And now that we're unstuck, the only thing left to do is to give it another go, try to hit that snowbank going a little faster, and see if we could have maybe made it through if we had that extra speed. Let's find out. Oh yeah! Well, that was pretty cool. I guess we'll have to do that a few more times. Even though we winched on this so hard, you tie a bowline and look how easy that comes out. Bada bing, bada boom. That's a big butterfly right there, but I'm gonna try this rope when I get back home anyway. So that's how you do it. And then you spin it around here a few times, and then you take a bite of the rope, you pull it through the center, then wrap it over the top. And that is a sloppy butterfly coil. It's easier if you're not, you know, wearing big gloves and such, and a GoPro to have the rope get caught on you. But it's a good way to store rope. It's the end of that petty saga. Right? It's good training anyway. Let's head on back home. I don't know if anyone noticed, but there's a shovel on the back of the Komatsu too, which would have came in handy if we just kind of took a break and regroup. But Jen was really cold, and I felt bad keeping her out here. Oh, that can't be good for airflow to the radiator. I just pulled out the whole winch cable just to inspect it and check it out, and overall it's in good shape. The sheath is down there too, but the end of it is getting pretty frayed up, and the knot that somebody had tied holding this hook on was pretty sketchy looking, so I decided to retie an end on it. And I was going to do a bowline, but of course then you weaken the strength of the rope. Of course those can come out, which is nice, but then I was thinking maybe use a thimble on the end. Doing a little bit more research, and I ran into Bleep and Jeep's video. I'm sure there's a million of them too, but how to re-stitch this properly. And so in a nutshell, well, they actually sell a special tool for this. I think it's called a fib, if I remember that right. But you could just tie a pen on the end like he showed in his video, and then you run that through the center, about 3 times, maybe even 4 if you want, and then you scrunch this up to make the rope hollow, like so, and then feed that rope inside of there. Anyway, he does a great job explaining it, so I'll drop his video down below. So on the last portion where you got to feed the rope through the center of this synthetic, upend's a little bit big for this small of a line, but I think I'll be able to manage. When you're all done, you end up with something like that. Looks pro status, brand new, minus a little bit of fraying, but that's okay. What else I'm doing is any recovery rope I have, I'll mark the length on it, 60 feet on this webbing. This stuff's pretty heavy duty. It does have some stretch though, but better than nothing if you ever get in a jam. And then I'm actually gonna measure how long this is too after there's like 5 wraps on there, because of course you wouldn't want to spool it all the way out and use it. You'll just rip it right off the spool. So that way, if I'm ever in a jam and I'm like, is it long enough? Is it not? I can take my feet and measure approximately how far it is, 1 foot by foot, and then not waste my time in severe conditions, you know, pulling out gear and then realizing, hey, that tree is way too far. I wrote the rope length on the controller, 37 feet. I took a bungee cord and wrapped it around these poles up here, so now I can store my tow ropes up top. And I guess I'd like to make this whole thing storage up here eventually, so we'll come up with some kind of system for that. But yeah, out of the way and easily accessible. I did end up buying a brand new 50-foot synthetic replacement to keep as a spare, and then a snatch block for future recovery situations. Climb right up this, my dirt bike, no problem, but I'm going to throw it in low range with the dip lock on and see if we can get up. Yeah, no, not quite, almost there. Come on, baby. All right, so that was a no-go. Let's see if it pulls it. Okay, no. He's just pulling the front end down. I'm gonna juice her a little bit. And there it goes. Pull me up, no problem. Okay, good stuff. Let's go get that sunset. Gotta say, sometimes I'm disappointed in myself because I feel like I'm not getting enough done. People are doing these awesome projects all over the place, and then here I am just out having a good time, and that's it's kind of one of my problems. Is sometimes I just like to have a little too much fun and enjoy life, and then that really sets back your productivity. But you know, you only live once. This works great for putting the speaker up there too. Just tuck it in the bungee cord there. All right, guys, I've been riding several more miles tonight, and I want to spill a couple thoughts. As I'm cruising this, I'm like, it's just so slow. I got to get a KRX 1000. This thing is a turd. I mean, you're pedal to the metal, doing like 28 miles an hour in the snow, in the deep snow. It just struggles to keep going. It's not a big motor for what it is. But then I just came through some really, really tight trails on a place I've never been, and the Rhino barely made it through. I really need a quad for these trails. And I'm thinking, this Rhino's awesome because it's skinny enough to get through all the tight stuff. And I love that. And then, of course, I ran into this right here, which is a 3-wheeler or a quad, which is just zipped right under, no problem. But I don't have a chainsaw with me, so with the Rhino, we can just blast our way around this thing, no problem. Come on, you got it. Ah! Yeah! Made it around. Yeah, the KRX would just never make it through. no full-size UTV fitting through this right here, and to go around it, there's just no way. Oh, it's tight. Oh, we're scraping. Yep. We made it through, no problem. Love it. Alright guys, well it's been over a year since I got this machine and fixed it, so I think I'll wrap up part 2 now. There haven't been any major breakdowns. It's been an extremely reliable, fun, functional machine. What a joy to own. The only time it let us down was my own stupid fault, you know, with the head gasket in part 1 and then getting it stuck in the snow there and such. So I can't say enough good things about this machine. It's the biggest gripe I have with it is how slow it is and the noise. It's just, so I did think about, let's walk over here, insulating the engine cover and trying to reduce that noise, maybe even under the bed. But I was going through a bunch of forums and it seems most people agree that just throwing some earplugs in is the way to go and solves it. It seems to be an issue when you have the motor right between your legs and you have an open cab like this. That niche top end kit that I used, the jug and piston, everybody was talking so much smack about that. You're going to be putting a new jug and head gasket and all that ASAP. Well, I haven't had to, and I've been beating the balls off it, pedal to the metal the whole time. It has the factory CDI rev limiter and all that, so topping out at 38 mile an hour, but I've been checking the oil and coolant level, hasn't ate a drop of anything. So that the niche kit is not bad. It's pretty unbeatable price for what you get with that. Back here, I'm thinking about doing some other storage options, but for now, just you gotta have something here, because if you just throw your backpack in here, it gets covered in snow, mud, and whatever else you're riding in. So as you saw with the snow blowing through the back, gonna have to do something here to prevent that. But I'll be honest, I think I'm gonna just keep this thing the way it is and get to work on some other projects like the Fury. About to tear into that tonight, hopefully. And then I might keep an eye out for, you know, a cheap KRX 1000 or something more fun and fast in the future. But listen, I can't say it enough. The Rhino is just a great UTV all the way around. So if your budget is a little bit lower and you can't afford something fancy, definitely consider checking them out. I appreciate you guys watching, and sorry if I deviated from my normal style. I think there was quite a bit of riding footage throughout this video, but hopefully you enjoyed it, and I appreciate you watching if you did, if I didn't already say that. Anyway, no nonsense, know how here, and I do hope to see you again in the future. Over out.